I accidentally brought a prop tumor report home from my set. Over dinner, my contract wife Liu Ryan suddenly asked how many months I had left. Thinking she meant a one-year marriage contract, I replied, probably just 2 months. Ryan fell silent. After that, I quietly went abroad for 3 months to study. When I returned, friends said she had gone crazy searching the whole country for her supposedly dying husband, demanding a body. Meanwhile, I just ordered a massive takeout feast, ready to dig in. Suddenly Ryan, whom I had not seen in months, sat right across from me. I looked up in surprise. In our year plus of marriage, we barely saw each other. She was usually freezing cold, and eating together was practically unheard of. Her assistant once put it bluntly, "It is just a 2-year contract. Do not get ideas. Take the cash, and leave when the time is up." She is way out of your league. Watching Ryan sit there, from her hair to her fingertips, she oozed the high-class arrogance of someone always pampered by the crowd. A guy like me, who would have to struggle for 10 years just to touch her heels, is definitely beneath her. So I kept my distance. Besides, cash and resources, I never asked questions. Ryan seemed to have rushed straight from the office, still wearing her custom business suit. She sat silently, watching me gorge on hot pot. A stray drop of soup almost splashed her. She paused, then suddenly asked, "How many months do you have left?" I looked at her confused. She is always incredibly busy. To her, time is money. Did she seriously abandon her schedule just to ask how much time is left on our contract? She probably finds someone like me living in her house to be too embarrassing, and wants me gone as soon as possible. I calculated the days and tried to reassure her. "About 2 months left, Miss Liu. Do not worry. I will pack up and leave early, so I do not cause you any trouble." Hearing this, she suddenly went silent. After a long pause, she spoke again, a strange emotion in her voice. "During this final period, do you have any last wishes?" Honestly, ever since signing our contract, I had already gotten plenty of career resources from her, so I shook my head. "No, thank you. I do not have any other wishes." I do not know if I imagined it, but her eyes seemed to tremble violently. She has been acting so weird lately. Usually I only see her once every few weeks, but now she is staying home every single day. This morning, right after texting my agent, I looked up to find her in the living room, staring at me in silence. It sent a chill down my spine. I forced a smile. "Miss Liu, are you not going to the office today?" She shook her head. "The office is not important right now," she said. I recalled my agent mentioning this morning that Fang Yuan was back in the country. Looking at the liquor bottles on the table, I nodded in realization. Her assistant had told me why she wanted me to sign the contract. It was because my face looked 70% like her first love, Fang Yuan. He is a rising star who blew up last year from a web drama. Ryan apparently pumped a fortune into that show, but after getting famous, Fang Yuan immediately dumped her and ran abroad. She only hired me to make him jealous. I could not help but sigh. Rich people play completely different love games. Working-class folks like me are just props to be used. Since I just wrapped a cheesy drama about a wealthy female CEO chasing her husband, I had some free time to relax at home. While cleaning my room, I suddenly remembered a prop I had accidentally brought back from the set, in my backpack. It was a fake tumor report sheet, but after turning my backpack inside out, I still could not find it. My assistant, Chun Yi, probably threw it away as trash. It was no big deal. I would just tell the director. To avoid disturbing Ryan while she pined over her ex in the living room, I just stayed in my room, playing games and eating snacks. Laughing, I choked on my water and started coughing uncontrollably. Suddenly someone knocked. Ryan's anxious voice came from the hallway, asking, "Has it gotten worse? Is it bad? Are you in pain?" I was choking too hard to speak. Ryan immediately pushed the door open. I was coughing violently, my eyes watering, looking like I was in agony. The usually calm and composed Ryan completely panicked. She dialed her assistant while looking at me. "Do not worry. I will have Song Ming drive you to the hospital right now." I finally caught my breath, giving her a weird look. What is the point of going to the hospital? I meant for choking on water, obviously. But Ryan froze, standing there blankly. "You are right. There really is no point. With only 2 months left, there is nothing they can do." We stood face. She did not move an inch, and I had no idea what she was thinking. Looking at my running game, I felt my rare days off were far too precious to waste. I cleared my throat to break the awkward silence. "Miss Liu, if there is nothing else, I would like to rest in my room alone for a bit." She snapped out of it, a rare look of deep sorrow crossing her cold, elegant face. When she knocked on my door again later, I was speechless. We had interacted more today than in our entire marriage. This time, she reeked of alcohol. Her usually perfect hair was a messy nest. "Are you free tonight? I want to take you to a dinner with my friends. We have been married so long, and they still have not met you." I looked at her in absolute surprise. In over a year of marriage, I had always known my place. I was just a cheap substitute. Was she not worried about losing face? Or was it because Fang Yuan was back, and she wanted to use me to grab his attention, by humiliating me first? After thinking for a moment, I asked, "Will Mr. Fang be there tonight?" Confusion flashed across her face. but she nodded. I smiled with complete understanding. Understood, Miss Liu. Her friends were mostly wealthy, powerful. A single outfit they wore could fund my salary for an entire drama. When we walked in, they all stared, scanning me with critical eyes. They did not look friendly at all, looking like snobs. Walking ahead of me, Ryan suddenly stopped, almost causing me to crash into her. Then, I felt someone gently take my hand. This was the first physical contact we had ever had. Her palm was a bit cold. Combined with her usual frozen expression, it made me curious. What does a woman who always seems in control look like when she is desperately in love? After a few steps, a familiar voice rang out from behind. Sorry everyone, my flight was late. It was Fang Yuan, with a face 70% identical to mine and wearing a designer suit. He looked incredibly handsome. Standing there in my cheap clothes, I felt like a poor country bumpkin, reeking of poverty. I quickly let go of her hand, trying to be considerate. I did not want Fang Yuan to think we were a real couple. Ryan instantly froze in front of me. She let out a bitter laugh, her voice barely a whisper. Do you still hate me that much? She muttered. Seeing her surrounded by wealthy heirs in the very center of the room made me realize how powerful money is. I quietly found myself a seat in the far corner. Sitting nearby, Ryan casually answered boring questions while glancing over at me. Actually, when she saw I did not sit next to her, she had frozen for a second. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but after a long pause, she turned away. A person like her, accustomed to big occasions, rarely showed emotion. But right now her bad mood was obvious. She sipped her wine slowly, her expression cold. She sat there looking like ice. I instinctively glanced at Fang Yuan. Maybe others did not notice, but I was watching them closely. I saw that Fang Yuan had just deliberately walked right past Ryan, as if she were invisible, greeting everyone else but completely ignoring her. The online rumors about them were clearly true. Meanwhile, Bai Ningbing, who was close to Ryan, nudged her when no one was looking. You two still haven't cleared things up? She asked. Ryan rubbed her temples in frustration. Bai Ningbing, always loving drama, laughed. Being hesitant doesn't suit you. Be careful or someone might steal him away. Ryan glared at her. Bai Ningbing quickly shrugged. Fair point. Who would dare steal your man? I am just kidding. Before Ryan could reply, Bai Ningbing scanned the room with a puzzled look. By the way, where is the husband you brought? I haven't seen him. Ryan looked at my empty seat and frowned. Meanwhile, I was hiding in the restroom. The situation outside was just too awkward. Outside, Fang Yuan and his friend were chatting away, totally unaware I was in here. Are you and President Liu still fighting? Honestly, I never expected her to be so devoted to you. Even the husband she married looks 70% like you. Though, that guy is nothing compared to you. Fang Yuan snorted, fixing his suit in the mirror. I will let her simmer. Once I wave my hand, she will come running. Still, you should be careful. After this long Cold War, what if she moves on? Where else will you find a cash cow this devoted? Fang Yuan interrupted impatiently. Who else could she love besides me? Certainly not that cheap substitute husband. That cheap substitute husband was me, currently hiding in the stall, listening in silence. My hand froze on the doorknob. I was debating whether to open the door. They had been talking so long my legs were getting tired, but walking out now would be too awkward. Weighing my options, I decided to wait. Ryan better pay me an extra bonus for this, to save her precious ex from embarrassment. I was making a massive sacrifice. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Ryan's voice came from outside. Hello, is anyone in there? We all froze. His friend looked at Fang Yuan with envy. She came looking for you after only a minute. Fang Yuan smirked, unable to hide his pride. I told you, who else could she love? Then, Ryan spoke again. Excuse me, is my husband in there? He has been gone a long time, and I am worried. The bathroom fell dead silent. With a creak, the door was pushed open. I braced myself and stepped out, coming face to face with Fang Yuan and his friend. They stood there, frozen. I let out an awkward laugh, muttering some polite nonsense. But they stayed silent. Fang Yuan's face turned pale before he suddenly stormed past me. As he passed Liu Ryan, he gave her a nasty glare. Following behind them, I winked furiously at her, trying to signal that she needed to go after him. Is she dense? He is clearly furious. But she just stared back at me, completely clueless. She frowned and asked if my illness was getting worse. I rolled my eyes internally. What illness? I am young and perfectly healthy. Stop wishing a sickness on me. Suddenly, Bai Ningbing stepped out from behind her, asking curiously what illness we were talking about. She scoffed, asking if a twitching eyelid counted as a disease. That was when I noticed her. Bai Ningbing was Liu Ryan's childhood friend. She had dated countless guys. But tonight, she had brought a very different kind of boyfriend to this dinner. He sat right next to me, college kid wearing plain jeans and a hoodie among all the designer clothes. He looked innocent and nervous, letting me play along and coax him into drinking. I silently judged Bai Ningbing for being such a player. A twitching eyelid. Her whole family has twitching eyelids. Liu Ryan did not bother explaining, only telling her friend that she would not understand. Then she looked at me. Honestly, I did not get it either. But as her contract husband, I knew better than to pry. Back in the private room, a crowd had gathered around Fang Yuan. Seeing us return, Chunshu raised his voice on purpose, telling Fang Yuan not to waste his tears on that kind of woman. The room went silent. No one dared to offend Louis Ryan. Seeing the awkward silence, Chunshu doubled down, loudly asking why she had to hurt his pride like that during a petty fight. He knew how sensitive Fang Yuan was. Suddenly, a timid voice broke through the tension. The kid argued that President Liu's husband was Qi Xie, not Fang Yuan, so the comments were out of line. I was stunned. He was clutching his glass, nervously defending me. Chunshu's face darkened instantly, but before he could snap back by Ningbeng Kutan, agreeing that since the real husband was right here, they should stop causing a scene. I gasped, glancing at Lu Ryan. Her gaze toward Chunshu and Fang Yuan was icy. After a heavy silence, she finally spoke. She ordered her assistant to throw them both out. Everyone was shocked, and even Fang Yuan looked up in utter disbelief. The dinner ended terribly. Back home, the moment I shut the door and turned around, I bumped right into her. The lights were off. She was clearly in a foul mood. She was usually so disciplined, rarely touching alcohol, but standing this close. The smell of red wine and her expensive perfume washed over me. I stood frozen, barely breathing. My heart was pounding fast. Through the silence, her raspy voice whispered that she had something to tell me. The tension in the air made me incredibly nervous. I managed to tell her to go ahead, but then I remembered something. I added that I had some news for her too, but before she could speak, her phone rang, cutting her off. She hesitated, then answered. It was her assistant, and her face went tense immediately. She gasped about a sudden funding crisis and rushed out. Before closing the door, she paused and promised she would be back soon. I did not want to burden her, so I kept my study abroad plans to myself. To improve my acting, I had quietly decided to go abroad for 3 months of training. Boarding the plane, I realized that returning in 3 months would perfectly align with the expiration of our marriage contract. Besides, out of sight, out of mind, we could just sign the divorce papers when I got back, and I would focus on my career. Once abroad, I swapped my SIM card to save money. For 3 months I was off the grid. I buried myself in my studies, completely cut off from my old life. But the moment I landed back home and put my old SIM card in, my phone exploded with missed calls and countless urgent messages. My roommate had told my parents I was away studying, and since I kept a small circle, only my best friend knew the details. I had officially taken leave from my agency. Then, a shocking notification popped up. A gossip article headline caught my eye. It read, "Tragic love story. Desperate to find her terminally ill husband. The famous CEO of Lu Corporation searches the entire country to see him one last time." I read it 5 times, utterly bewildered. I knew she was the CEO, but did she get a new husband while I was gone? Who on earth was this dead husband supposed to be? I walked back to our house. Inside, the house was silent. Everything was exactly as I had left it. Even a half-empty juice bottle I forgot to toss was still on the table. 3 months had passed. My bedroom door was locked too. I could not even get in to grab my savings book, which held 10 years of my hard-earned salary. I sat on the couch in frustration. Empty bottles littered the floor. It looked like a total mess. I decided to clean up the villa one last time before our contract officially ended. Just then, the front door swung open. It was Louis Ryan. It was only 2 in the afternoon, a time she is usually working. She wore no makeup, just messy casual clothes, and her eyes were bloodshot. She had always been so meticulously elegant, but seeing her look this broken down and exhausted made me wonder if her company had gone bankrupt. She slipped off her coat, looked up, and locked eyes with me. She froze. Then, she rubbed her face in exhaustion, muttering that she must be hallucinating from sleep deprivation. I stared at her, completely speechless. I asked what hallucination she was talking about. She stiffened, slowly opening her eyes. Suddenly, she grabbed a half-empty bottle of wine, took a huge gulp, and marched straight over to stand right in front of me. The heavy scent of alcohol told me she was completely out of it. Before I could react, she cut my face, looked at me with intense longing, stood on her tiptoes, and bit my lip hard. She wrapped her arms around my waist, burying herself in my chest. Her familiar perfume made my heart race. I struggled to push her away, shouting that I was alive, but she ignored my protests. She looked up, her eyes red, and choked out that if this was a dream, she wanted to stay in it forever. What nonsense. This is exactly why I hate dealing with drunk people. Her grip tightened, as if she feared I would vanish. Exhausted, I finally gave up fighting her off. But the moment I stopped resisting, she passed out cold in my arms, giving me a massive fright. I checked her breathing, and she was just fast asleep from pure exhaustion. Frustrated, I called our housekeeper. The woman gasped in absolute terror when she heard my voice on the line. I quickly explained that I was alive and well, but she sounded even more panicked, stammering that she would come right over. By 8 that night, nobody had shown up, and she was still asleep. I spent the evening calling around to figure out what was going on. It turned out the housekeeper had found a fake medical report for an oral tumor and told her I was terminally ill. That report was actually just a prop for my acting set. It hit me why she had asked me how much time I had left. She meant to live, not the remaining time on a marriage contract. I had blindly replied that I only had 3 months left. Luckily, she had only started the search recently. If I had stayed away any longer, I would have walked right into my own memorial service. By the time she opened her eyes, it was past 11 at night. She rubbed her temples, staring at me in a daze. I offered a fake smile and welcomed her back. She only nodded silently. I flatly told her that I was alive and well, explaining my 3-month training trip. I mentioned that the terrifying medical report she saw was actually just a prop for my last acting gig. She froze, her eyelashes trembling, before whispering the words back to me. I sighed and confirmed that I had accidentally brought the fake report home. The room went dead silent for a long moment. She asked me one more time if I was truly alive. I assured her I was. But then she looked up, frowning at my swollen lips, demanding to know what I did abroad to get them bruised. I asked if she had already forgotten what she did. Her pale cheeks instantly flushed bright red. She coughed awkwardly, apologizing for losing control, more like attacking me, but I let it slide. With that mess sorted out, I brought up the real reason I had rushed home. Our 2-year contract was officially over. I asked if she was free tomorrow, but she instantly refused. She claimed she was far too busy for a divorce. I stayed silent. I only rushed back because I thought she would be desperate to end this and go chase after Fang Yuan. But thinking about her wild reaction to my supposed death, things felt strange. I could feel a fierce, hidden warmth in her eyes. But wasn't I just a stand-in for her true love? I could not deny that I once had a massive crush on her. Her beauty is enough to drive anyone crazy, and a year together changes things. But I always forced myself to remember the truth. Liu Ryan and I belong to completely different worlds. She already has someone she can't forget. I could fall in love with anyone, but I refused to let my feelings look so pathetic. So, I deliberately stayed out of her life. I never asked about things that weren't my business, crushing any unwanted feelings in the bud. I didn't know if her sudden affection was just a habit from our 1-year marriage contract, or if she genuinely liked me as a substitute for Fang Yuan. But I couldn't accept either option. So, I gave her a faint smile and said, "Just pick a date and let's finalize the divorce. I won't bother you anymore. I'll rent a place." The next time I ran into Fang Yuan, he actually came looking for me at our place. He sized me up, took a confident sip of tea, and slowly asked if I knew why Liu Ryan married me. I nodded calmly, finishing his sentence for him. I told him I knew she only married me because I looked just like you, using me as your substitute. Fang Yuan froze, then sneered aggressively. "If you know that, why are you still in my way? All I have to do is apologize, and she'll run right back to me." I just nodded and said, "Exactly. That's why we're divorcing in a few days." He clearly didn't expect me to step aside, so he opened his mouth, shut it, and finally sneered. "Good. Just don't cling to her anymore." Right as he was about to leave and opened the door, he ran straight into Liu Ryan. She had clearly been listening for a while. Honestly, I felt embarrassed for both of them. Fang Yuan looked at her, soft his voice, and said, "It was my fault. I shouldn't have gone abroad. Come back to me, okay?" But Liu Ryan frowned, stepping back. "Mr. Fang, please show some self-respect. Don't make people misunderstand." Fang Yuan froze. He was incredibly proud, and having his first apology rejected so ruthlessly made him snap. "What is that supposed to mean?" I apologized. "What more do you want?" Liu Ryan just looked at him coldly. "What do I want? You're the one clinging to me." Sitting nearby, I could practically smell the juicy drama unfolding. She continued, "You constantly used me for publicity and fake dating rumors. I let it slide to save your face, but you keep pushing." Then she turned to me as I was enjoying the drama. "Are you just going to watch? What I wanted to tell you last time isn't finished. Let's make everything clear today." Hearing her explain, I realized this was indeed a massive bombshell. Back when Fang Yuan's web drama lost its investor halfway through production, the director forced him to attend a dinner party to secure sponsors, which was really just code for the casting couch. Coincidentally, he met Liu Ryan there. Seeing him get harassed by a wealthy, older woman, she stepped in to bail him out and ended up funding the entire project. She had always kept her circle clean, unlike other wealthy heiresses who love to play around. Naturally, rumors spread that Fang Yuan was her unattainable true love. Because of her elite status, everyone started kissing up to him just to please her. To feed his own vanity, Fang Yuan deliberately let the rumors spread. Over time, even he started believing the hype. After all, if she didn't like him, why would she throw millions at a complete stranger for a terrible low-budget show? If she didn't care, why did she never clear the rumors up? But this time, she wasn't going to spare his feelings. She looked at him with an icy glare. "Do you know why I never bothered to deal with your antics? Normally, anyone who offends me is blacklisted instantly, let alone getting famous. You really should thank your face." Hearing this, my eyes went wide. What a twist. It turned out we were both substitutes. Amused by my shocked expression, she took my hand and asked, "Do you remember where we first met?" Of course I remembered. In fact, after learning her true identity, I spent a long time worrying about it. Our first meeting was on a flight back from her studies abroad. I've always been a social butterfly, and seeing how gorgeous she was, I went out of my way to strike up a conversation. I told her I was an actor, though completely obscure. She kept her eyes on her financial newspaper, barely saying a word. Then I pointed out the window at a massive skyscraper and bragged, "That's my dad's company." That finally got a reaction. She looked at me with slight surprise, then pointed to an even taller building next to it. "And that one is my dad's." I secretly laughed, thinking she was totally bluffing. I was just joking, but she went way over. Everyone knew that the tallest building downtown belonged to the Liu Group. Was she seriously claiming to be the chairman's daughter? It wasn't until we got off the plane that I realized she actually was. As we both stood waiting for our rides, her driver arrived first. She turned to me and offered, "Let me give you a ride. I'm heading to your company to see Shen Yu anyway. You're his son, right?" She gave me a gentle smile, completely scattering my senses. "Shen Yu helped my father, so it is the least I can do." Within a second, I agreed. "Sure, let's go." But when we arrived at the office, I refused to get out of the car. I claimed my stomach was hurting. I dragged her to a street stall for wontons and then tricked her into a fried chicken joint. She had clearly never eaten street food before. She ate so elegantly, using a knife to slowly slice her fried chicken into neat little pieces. I watched her in absolute disbelief. She looked up and said, "Thank you for showing me such delicious food." I grinned and replied, "Right. Good food always cheers you up, especially fried chicken." She smiled. It really did feel a bit better. "So, can we go see Shen Yu now?" I went quiet for a second, then said, "Wait, I'm still a bit hungry. Let's grab afternoon tea." By the time we walked out, it was already pitch black, just as I planned. I turned to her, pretending to be disappointed, and said, "Oh, it's so late. Let's see him tomorrow. How about a movie instead?" She hesitated for a long time before finally nodding. It wasn't until much later that I learned the day we met was the second anniversary of her family's fatal accident. She had refused to take over her father's company and, out of spite, missed the last call they ever made. They had actually bought plane tickets to Mexico to surprise her after 3 years abroad. But on the way they got into a car accident. That final call rang and rang, but went unanswered. The day she returned, she had planned to say her final goodbyes and end it all. But then she ran into me, who pestered her from sunrise to sunset. By some miracle, a wealthy heiress accustomed to luxury dining had the time of her life eating cheap street food. For a brief moment, she forgot her nightmares and the pain of losing her family. She realized her life shouldn't end just yet. There were still so many things she hadn't seen, explored, or tried. For a long time after that, I didn't see her again. I just focused entirely on my acting, even though every single project I did bombed. The next time I heard about her was on the news. First, she took back her father's shares to become the CEO of the Liu Group. And then came the rumors about her and Fang Yuan. Later, I crossed paths with her at a few dinners. She was always the center of attention, while I sat at the furthest corner table. Then, out of nowhere, she contacted me, offering a 2-year marriage contract with $6 million up front and another $8 million later. Hearing about this massive jackpot, I cautiously asked her assistant why she wanted me. Knowing the rumors, the assistant told me not to overthink it, explaining that she only chose me because I looked a lot like Fang Yuan. I wasn't really disappointed. After all, we had only met once, so why would she actually like me? Still, when we first married, I couldn't help but feel a tiny spark. After all, from the very first moment, she was exactly my type. But after we married, she remained incredibly cold. I gradually lost all hope and focused on playing my part. I knew very well that we were just a business transaction. Hearing the truth from her now, my heart was racing. I figured it was just because I was in a good mood. Then, a bit slowly, I asked her, "Wait, so you actually fell for me at first sight?" She was silent for a moment before blushing and denying it. "Not exactly." I felt a little let down. "I only signed that contract because I wanted to experience everything before my life ended. I chose you because you were interesting, and I had never been in a relationship. I thought I would get tired of it after 2 years. But later, she started caring about me more and more. It was only when she thought I had 2 months left that she realized how deep her feelings ran. It wasn't just a habit of companionship, but a terrifying realization of what she was about to lose." Hearing this, I looked at her, completely speechless. "Then why didn't you just say so? Why all these misunderstandings? You should have told me." She cleared her throat, looking a bit awkward. "I always thought you hated me. Binding Bing told me later that offering you that contract was disrespectful. Like I bought you, and your attitude toward me was always so unwilling. You were always trying to keep your distance. Like at that dinner, you wouldn't even sit next to me." I fell into a strange silence, wondering if my morals were actually way too low. Why else, when I heard I would get over $10 million, did I only feel the sheer joy of becoming rich without once worrying about respect? I looked at her and said, "Tell Binding Bing she's overthinking it. Next time you have a deal like this, be sure to call me again." She glared at me, annoyed, and I just laughed it off. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan ignored this whole time, stared in shock. He snapped, called her a toxic woman, and stormed out. My bags were still downstairs. I had planned to pack up and leave her place today, but who knew all this would happen? Now, standing right in front of the door, she waited patiently for me to finish. So are we still getting that divorce? She looked at me with an amused smile. I played along, nudging her. But you haven't paid the $8 million deposit. If we don't get a divorce, I'm losing out here. Lou Ryan laughed, half annoyed. Losing out? Stay married to me, and you can have as many 8 millions as you want. I nodded. All right then. She stared at me in disbelief. Disbelief written all over her face. She repeated. All right then. Why do you sound so reluctant? I offered a soft smile. Because I am reluctant. After what you planned for my dad's memorial. That evening over dinner, Lou Ryan suddenly asked, do you know what today is? I looked at her confused. She pointed to the calendar on the wall. Between getting back from abroad and everything else, it completely slipped my mind. New Year was right around the corner. The housekeeper chimed in, saying that since the accident, Lou Ryan had spent every New Year alone. Smiling, I took her hand and told her, from now on, I will always be with you at midnight. Right on cue, fireworks burst across the sky, lighting up every corner. Whether it was me, Lou Ryan resting in my arms, or Fangy weeping downstairs, Severian was watching. At this very moment, everyone burdened by life looked up at the sky together. The brilliant light washed over this massive world, as if someone had hit pause on reality. The mountains and rivers felt vast, yet warm with the glow of life. I made a wish upon the fireworks, raising a glass to this year. You worked hard too. Good night, see you next year. Is it snowing where you are? That's the end of the story. Hit like and subscribe, guys. More great audio dramas are coming your way.